Ambassador of Norway and Greece, Athens, Professor Jordan, on behalf of the University of Bergen, Dr. Christoph Bruno, Deputy Director of the Equine Facilities of Foreign, Directors and representatives of the Ministry of Culture and Foreign Archaeological Schools, dear Nordic counterparts, colleagues and friends of NIA in Norway and Greece. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to the 35th annual meeting of the Norwegian Institute at Athens. Before we go on with our annual presentation, I will like to introduce Professor Uli Josma from the University of Bergen and Bachelor in Humanities, who will extend his praise. Thank you, Uli.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to try to repeat the entire line of greeting, but I'll just say thank you to everyone for being here at the annual meeting. As Delia said, my name is Professor Uli Josma. I am the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Humanities at the University of Bergen, one of the older institutions of NIA. And I am the head of the Scientific Advisory Board of NIA, and it's in that capacity that I'm here today. Now, it's taken me a bit of time to make it down here to Athens and to visit the centre. But now that I'm here, I'm starting to think maybe I have a hard time sending them back again. I've been here for 1.5 days. In the region, I can say that I'm starting slowly to become civilized. But I might need a couple of more days. The Institute is a very important research and teaching infrastructure for the University of Bergen and our partner institutions in Italy. It's not only an archaeological school and a hub of archaeological research and collaboration with other institutes and Greek partners. It is also a much more broad platform for research collaborations between Norway and Greece, but also with other European countries. And for us, it's an opportunity to send researchers and our students to a city with a extremely important cultural and academic role that is enabling them to see that Norwegian academia has a lot to gain from having strong connections with institutions, researchers elsewhere. And I'd like to say, on behalf of the leadership in Bergen, Dr. Margaret Carl, the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, Camilla Parnassos, that we're extremely grateful for all the work that the Institute is doing, for the work that Delia and Parnassos are doing for us. They're working tirelessly to make this institute
welcoming, to make it an efficient arena for doing research. They host an extremely impressive number of activities in a year, and they're very, very, very wonderful hosts. So thank you so much from me as well for greeting me on arrival and for taking care of me when I'm here. Very much looking forward to today. Very much looking forward to tomorrow as well, meeting some of the other institute directors. But first and foremost, to the talk that we'll be hearing very soon. So thank you very much.
As always, the first part of the annual report is devoted to the activities and achievements in the previous year, 2023. Along with a summary of the activities, I will present you focal points of interest and more general schemes of action linking the Institute to policies and strategic goals in both countries. In about 20 minutes' time, Dr. Zofiriadis will take the floor to let you delve into tangible data and evidence of ongoing and new archaeological projects and prospects. The second part of the evening is dedicated to a place strongly associated with NIA's more recent scientific work in Greece, namely Charistos. Charistos deserves our attention not only for its merit regarding NIA's institutional involvement, but also for its long history and stunning natural environment. Castello Rosso, the emblematic medieval monument on the hilltop, will be unfolded by Dr. Christodoulou, who is honoring us with his presence and who we thank for accepting the invitation. We would also like to thank the Hellenic Ministry of Culture, particularly the Minister Lina Mendoni, the General Secretary of Culture, Georgios Didaskalu, the General Director of Antiquities and Cultural Heritage, Olympia Ligatou, the Head of the Department for the Supervision of Greek and Foreign Scientific Institutions, Konstantina Benisi, all directors, heads of departments and colleagues of the Ministry who have been assisting the work of the Institute since its establishment and early days. From January 2021 onwards, the Norwegian Institute operates under the leadership of the University of Bergen, which is NIA's sole owner, with the University of Oslo being a general supporter. The Institute's new structure consists of our administrative leader at the University of Bergen, Per-Arne Fosvold, two NIA UIB advisors and researchers, Dr. Zafiriadis and myself, me also acting as the formal representative of NIA towards Greek entities and authorities, as well as institutions within the Norwegian academic sector. Moreover, two local members of staff, Kostas Polizos and Sofia Christopoulou, complete the picture of NIA's manpower. This operational structure has been further assisted by a Norwegian academic component, namely the Institute's Advisory Board, introduced in 2021. We feel privileged to have with us tonight the Chairman of the Board, Professor of Philosophy at the University of Bergen, and Vice Dean of Humanities, Ole Jørgen. Thank you for joining in person. The committee includes prominent members, both from the academic communities of Bergen and Oslo universities, whose activity is pertinent to the Institute's fields of activity, whose work. We thank each and every one. In collaboration with the Board, 3 priority areas of operation have been defined as per our Action Plan 2023-2026 and are yearly discussed and updated. This main grid of tripartite activity serves as an infrastructural platform for Norwegian academics, well-established and early career scholars alike, drawn from the pool of humanities, social sciences and the arts. Scholars communicate their research through the Institute with the result of potentially, in fact, quite often, collaborative paths with Greek and international counterparts are forged. The action plan forms part of a strategy bringing our institutions closer together and sets the framework for selecting and prioritizing when it comes to actual choices about events, projects, publications, and the like. However, networking means to be able to better understand the goals that our supporting institutions in Norway set out to achieve every year. Global concerns and challenges such as environmental hazards, reducing excessive traveling, call for more cooperative, longer-term and hybrid schemes instead of a numerous one-off activities. As times are shifting towards more viable operational frameworks, which can survive and thrive not by cuts and shrinking resources, research institutions, including us, foreign schools, opt for less isolation, less surface play, more in-depth, also time-wise, collaborative undertakings, including the exchange of skills and practices, the investment on younger generations, not least the bridging of hard and soft humanities by integrating state-of-the-art digital technologies in research and teaching. To meet this end, namely targeted facilitation of Norwegian presence in Greece, specific moves are called upon. Dr. Zafiriadis and I travel annually to the University of Bergen so as to foster new channels of communication and active engagement. In 2023, NIA had fruitful meetings at the University of Bergen with new potential partners. On the left, the University Museum, and on the right, the Faculty of Social Sciences. Furthermore, during our first trip to Oslo in May 2023, we freshened up common goals with the director of the Cultural History Museum, Professor Håkon Røstad, and leaders slash researchers at the Norwegian Maritime Museum, namely Sven Arens and Frode Kvelde. All of them somehow related to the Greek scientific environment. Part of the outcome of those visits is already imprinted on our list of activities 2023, and more is scheduled for 2024 and the coming years. Along the same lines, our research affiliate program implemented in 2022 accommodated another 2 affiliate researchers offering office space at the Institute and special privileges such as access to museums, libraries, contact with local authorities, and the broader scientific field. Associate Professor Alex Nudel, co-director of the SKI project, and Professor Anne-Helen Müller from the Faculty of Arts, Design and Music, University of Bergen, in fact a new addition to the NIA community and very willing to get involved into NIA's current research, have enjoyed the benefits of the program. Still within the priority area of research, the Institute, aiming at instigating tangible interest in Norwegian students, among Norwegian students, offers one minor travel stipend in archaeology classes, thus honoring the pioneering work in the year by Bergen Professor Erik Østby. To the same end, the Atheneum Travel Grant, launched in 2019, attracts the attention on Greek affairs within the broader fields of humanities and social sciences, by offering 1 to 2 travel stipends per academic year to Norwegian students. Now, to particularize the above-mentioned strategic moves, 2023 activities reflect an increasing mobility on the part of the Norwegian university sector, which is the main recipient of our discussed strategy. 2023 was a seminal preparatory year for all Norwegian academics to bring student courses to Athens, even paved the ground for this to happen in the present year. If we briefly look at the general plan of the activities per organizer, those activities largely fall under 2 broad categories. Activities initiated by the Institute, including synergies and collaborations with Greek and international partners, which is the biggest bulk of what happened in 2023, on the left, the column in blue, and an increasing amount of hosted events from Norway, with the University of Oslo being the major contributor, followed by the University of Bergen, and a small contribution from the University of Trondheim. Next, the activities hosted by the Institute broken down to 5 major categories, of which you get a visual impression. The blue is the bulk of the activities, the grey is the University of Oslo, the orange Bergen, and the yellow University of Trondheim. Very briefly, an overview of the particular categories: 5 workshops, 3 conferences, 3 student courses from Bergen and Oslo, 2 book projects, 1 seminar, on topics varied from history, archaeology, social anthropology to classic, gender studies, and digital humanities. Just to exemplify a few examples, we want to emphasize that variation and diversity is not only related to content, but also to scale, funding, and global impact of those events. On the left, a workshop titled The Ancient World from the Department of Archaeology, History, Cultural Studies and Religion, University of Bergen. And on the right, a more contemporary topic, much related to modern Greece and its social geography, namely waterfront, work transformations, environmental change, and urban development, from the Department of Social Anthropology at the University of Oslo, first time visiting the Institute. A conference on gender discrimination from Trondheim, and on the right, an international research program with the catchy title, How Norway Made the World Wider, which has attracted a lot of global attention and research funding, and is managed by the Department of Linguistic, Literary and Aesthetic Studies, University of Bergen. Again, less and more familiar activities at NIA. In the first category, we were happy to welcome students of practicum placement on teacher education and school research from the respective department at Oslo, led by the lecturer Jan Schein. And on the right, our regular guests, many of you know that, the Nordic Graduate School in Archaeology, DALPAS, and students guided by Dr. Zafiriadis. When it comes to events initiated by us at NIA, we mainly focus on research and dissemination. We can see very briefly that we hosted 10 lectures, 2 book launches, 3 archaeological projects that Dr. Zafiriadis will discuss shortly, 1 EA grants funded project, the annual meeting of course, 2 research affiliates that we discussed before, and 2 welcome addresses. An example of reception studies was a lecture of Professor Christina Madou from the Department of Philosophy, Classics, History of Art and Ideas, University of Oslo, delivering an intriguing lecture titled Domesticating Homer, and then and the relation of classical antiquity in the formation of Norwegian classical national identity in the 19th century. And then 3 lectures disseminating the scientific results of our respective archaeological projects. On the right, Professor Katerina Harvati, who discussed the Pilima caves, Dr. Dimitris Athanasoulis and Dr. Alex Nodel, presenting the SCIP, the Small Cycladic Islands project. And last but not least, on the right, our own Zarko Tankosic, former NIA advisor and currently project manager at Athens Center of Excellence at the University of Oregon, who presented Guimavi, a prehistoric site on Euboea, the current state of affairs. In 2023, we also continued with our successful discussion-based series, NIA Laws, which has been designed to shape Norwegian and Greek academic couples working on similar fields, disciplines, and topics. It's actually an experiment of how people can publicly share and discuss their research progress, get to know each other, and possibly continue with future collaborative ideas. This year, we included an academic couple consisting of Dr. Håkon Economo from the Saxo Institute of the University of Copenhagen and Dr. Destina Valatsou, Research Center for the Humanities in Athens, both historians specializing in digital humanities who discussed digital history in terms of potentials and pitfalls. Later in the year, Dr. Niccolò Del Lunto, on the right, from the University of Oslo and University of Lund, and Dr. Marcos Katsianis from the University of Patras, unfolded their expertise on the highly captivating, albeit demanding topic of digital archaeology. The annual meeting is always a memorable event. It happened at the Byzantine Museum on March 23rd. Professor Anastasia Maravella from the Department of Philosophy, Classics, History of Art and Ideas delivered the keynote lecture titled Lucian of Samosata and Athens. At the closing of the year, the year-old Wiki Heritage Project was completed. This was a small-scale research and dissemination initiative, having received the amount of 6,000 euros by the EA Grants Active Citizens Fund Program, a scheme of funding supported by Liechtenstein, Norway, and Iceland, and locally managed by the Bodosaki Foundation. Road Wiki was based upon a bilateral agreement between the University of Oslo, Department of Archaeology, and Wikipedia Community Schools Association, an NGO dedicated to digital literacy in the periphery of Greece. It involved the Norwegian historian and specialist in the DEA region, Dr. Thomas Husson, and Greek heritage specialists. The goal was to train high school students and teachers in the DEA about how to document their local heritage, both tangible and intangible, on Wikipedia. It entailed 2 trips in the DEA and Tripolis in 2023, which I was responsible to coordinate on behalf of the Institute. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Maria Folla, the EA Grants Officer at the Embassy, also the directors of the DEA High School, Ms. Nenu and Ms. Maglari, for their assistance and enthusiasm. Integral part of the Institute's mission is the publication series papers and monographs from the Norwegian Institute at Athens. 2 more volumes in the series were produced in recent years. And in 2023, NIA organized 3 book launch presentations. The Vikings in the Mediterranean volume was the proceedings of an international conference co-organized by the Danish, Norwegian and Swedish institutes in 2019. The volume, edited by Professor Neil Price, Associate Professor Marianne Henriksen and Dr. Carsten Janke, was published in 2023 and enjoyed a double launch, both at NIA in Athens and at the University of Berlin. Another collective volume with international contributions on museum theory was published in 2022 by the NIA series, Theory of Museology, Main Schools of Thought, 1960-2000, edited by Dr. Delia Turtag and Stefanos Keramidas, was presented at the headquarters of the International Council of Museums in Athens, November 1st. More about our activities presented above you will be able to find in our latest 2023 editions, namely a revised information leaflet and our biannual newsletter, both of which are uploaded on the Institute's website. Let me now move towards the end of this presentation the way I started, which means pointing out synergies, long-term endeavors, and planning ahead, all of which strongly advanced at the Institute in 2023. The Embassy of Norway has for years been a significant and steadfast interlocutor for the Institute. Special thanks go to the Cultural Officer Christina Sordina for constantly thinking about the Institute. In recent times, we have invested in common intellectual activities focusing on academic merit. On the occasion of the Nobel Prize Awards 2023, the Ambassador of Norway took the initiative, and we are grateful for that, to organize a festive evening at the Institute in honor of Jon Fosse, the Norwegian playwright, author and poet, and most recently a Nobel Prize laureate in literature. The celebration at NIA was scheduled to follow in line the ceremony in Stockholm on December 11 and was well attended. Earlier in the year, in June 2023, the Embassy of Norway, the Institute and the Nordic Library were present and extended welcome addresses on the occasion of the 30-year anniversary of the Toti Research Retreat on Lesbos, owned by the University of Agder, Norway. Speaking of synergies, NORMED is an example of a long-haul collaborative research effort. It was initiated by the Research Center for the Humanities, Athens, which invited us Nordics, the Danish, the Swedish, the Norwegian and the Finnish institutes, along with Greek scholars, to work together in order to submit a horizon twinning bottom-up proposal in 2025. NORMED looks at historical, social and intellectual affinities between the Nordic, Baltic and Mediterranean regions vis-à-vis the making of modern Europe. Strong other ties, as always, with the Nordic Library, given that all 4 Nordic institutes in Athens are responsible for its funding and administrative running. In 2023, several board meetings of the Institute's heads under the presidency of Dr. Petra Pakanen, Director of the Finnish Institute, took place at Kavadoti No. 7 to discuss budget and other operational and promotional issues. Apart from being one of the best scientific libraries in Greece, the Nordic Library is the ideal hub for common action, as it has happened in the past and will happen again on the occasion of the 30-year anniversary in 2025. Moreover, with the support of the Nordic Library, NIA has reorganized its book collection, not least also its unique papyrology assemblage, which is part of the Triantafylopoulos collection, by setting up a papyrology study room for international scholars. Dr. Zafiriadis from the Institute and Dr. Yanis Mangerou from the Nordic Library, a former colleague and papyrology expert himself, were actively involved in the project. Let me also welcome Dr. Antti Lampinen, former Assistant Director of the Finnish Institute, as a new member of staff of the library, both administrator and researcher, and to congratulate Patrick Talatas for assuming the position of the head librarian. The final note regarding collaborative schemes is dedicated to bi- and multilateral cultural encounters at the level of institutions. Cultural diplomacy at its best can be detected in the drafting of a Memorandum of Understanding prompted by the Director of the Museum of Cultural History in Oslo, Dr. Håkon Bløstad, and addressed to the Hellenic Ministry of Culture. The aim is to activate a series of long-term mutual research and outreach ventures exploring the Viking era in connection with the Byzantine Empire, on the occasion of the opening of the new Museum of the Viking Age in 2027 in Oslo, a model of which you see on the slide. More about this promising collaboration next year. Finally, the presence of the Institute in social media platforms is constantly fed with news on all recent activity. So do follow our webpage, Facebook, and YouTube channels for updates. Before I give the floor to Dr. Zafiriadis, I would like, first of all, to thank my colleagues at the Institute, Pascalis, Kostas, and Sofia, for the great work in 2023. I would also like to thank our esteemed guests, the ambassador, the Professor Ole Gardner from Bergen, and Dr. Christodoulou for being with us, and of course, all of you for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for your attention.
Good evening and welcome all of you attending our 35th annual open meeting. Before delving into the archaeological endeavors of the Institute for 2023, I wish to express a heartfelt gratitude to the Ministry of Culture, particularly the Directorate of Historical and Classical Antiquities, for their invaluable guidance and support. Additionally, our sincere appreciation goes to the effort of Antiquities of Libya, the effort of Antiquities of the Cyclades, the effort of Paleontologists, Philology, and the effort of Antiquities of Laconia. Their collaboration and supervision has been instrumental in the success of our projects. We are also indebted to the Department of Educational Programs and Communication for their support of our educational activities involving sites, archaeological sites, and museums. Additionally, we extend our gratitude to numerous other FOAs for granting our researchers and graduate students access to material relevant to their research. Finally, on behalf of all project directors and co-directors, I'd like to extend a special thank you to all specialists and student volunteers who dedicated their time and expertise to our archaeological projects. Their commitment and passion for archaeology are truly commendable and serve as an inspiration to us all. In 2023, we undertook 3 archaeological projects, 2 excavation and 1 field survey. I will now proceed to present the findings of these projects in the chronological order in which they occurred in 2023. 2023 marked the 6th fieldwork season for the Burimani Archaeological Project, directed by Dr. Zago Tangusis, with Dr. Fanny Rodriguez and myself serving as the co-directors of the project. GAP, as it is widely known, excavates a Neolithic early Bronze Age settlement approximately 6 kilometers from Karistos in southern Libya. The excavation at Burimani is currently one of the few systematic excavations of Neolithic sites in Greece, boasting some of the best preserved architecture from this period. The prehistoric occupation at Burimani extends in an area of about 4 to 5 hectares from the summit and northwest and south slopes of a natural hill, positioned dominantly in the local landscape. The hill offers unobstructed vistas to East Attica and the northern Cyclades. Since 2018, we excavated an area of 124 square meters at the top flat part of the hill, reaching a maximum depth of approximately 2 meters. The excavation has unveiled a prehistoric settlement with successive superimposed occupation episodes spanning from the early stages of the late Neolithic to the early Bronze Age period, with early Bronze Age 1 and 2 material represented at the site. Notably, no material post-dating the early Bronze Age has been discovered thus far. The abandonment of the site after the early Bronze Age is crucial for the exceptional preservation of its architecture. Numerous stone-built walls of varying elevation and orientation are visible across all trenches, often one built atop the other, as shown in the slide. Notably, certain walls retain more than a meter of their original height. This is the right slide, so sorry, I was one slide behind. You can see here the preservation at the site, but also how complicated the architectural facing at the site is. In 2023, we excavated 4 trenches and continued analyzing movable finds from previous seasons. Our focus remained on the top flat part of the hill. Primary objectives included further stratigraphic research within the existing trenches, namely trenches 1, 3, and 4, and investigating the horizontal expansion of building activity by opening a new trench, trench 9, in the southwest sector of the hilltop. Excavation in trench 1 focused on its northeast and central sectors, involving the northern sector of trench 3, due to dense architectural features covering most of the surface. At a depth of approximately 2 meters below the modern surface of the hill, we reach the bedrock comprised of fragile and eroded schist formations. In the northeast sector, while cleaning the bedrock, we uncovered an almost circular depression, tentatively identified as a post-fault directly cut into the bedrock. Additionally, thin non-anthropogenic saturated clay deposits of red-brown color were observed above or mixed with bedrock. In both the northeast and central sectors, deposits above the bedrock contain scattered natural stones mixed with inconsistent deposits of reddish, loose soil along with burned, collapsed, or discarded building material. Excavation in the northeast corner of Trench 1 is concluded, fully exposing the northern face of wall I4 and its foundations. The wall, preserving approximately 20 courses and over 1.85 meters of its original height, directly abuts the schist bedrock and a clay deposit devoid of any archaeological finds. This remarkable discovery highlights the impressive preservation of the site. Excavation in Trench 4 initially targeted the burned deposit, either floor or a new surface, uncovered in the eastern half of the trench during the previous year. Progress revealed a continuation of stone-built walls previously discovered in adjacent trenches, namely trenches 1 and 5, providing a more comprehensive understanding of stratigraphy and horizontal distribution of building activity in this part of the site. New architectural features, including stone-built walls, post-holes, pits, were uncovered during excavations. Additionally, dense scatters of natural stones, likely originating from collapsed walls, were found, along with patches of burned soil in various areas and elevations. A thermal installation, I7, was uncovered in the northeast corner of the trench, potentially associated with the nearby post-hole I6 to its west. These features, along with the connection to the burned floor surface, suggest the presence of an interior space and/or a context of intensified domestic activity. In the southern sector of the trench, two refuge pits I4 and I5, were excavated, providing further insights into domestic activities. Noteworthy is the meticulous construction of pit I5, with its base laid with natural stones. Contents include numerous earth, obsidian findings, spindle work, and 3 groundstone tools. Trench 9 was opened west of Trench 8 and south of Trenches 5 and 8 and 6 to enhance our understanding of architectural activity in the southwest sector. Progress in the trench was hindered by dense scatters of natural stones, likely remnants of collapsed building material, and equally dense pottery concentrations just beneath them. This pottery-rich deposit closely resembles a similar situation in Trench 8 during the previous year. As of now, Trench 9 has only produced one architectural feature, wall I1, at its southwest corner. Regarding movable findings from the 2023 field season, there are no significant differences in type of chronological terms compared to previous field seasons. However, we observed an increased presence of spindle works, particularly from the upper layers of Trench 9. The 2023 movable findings comprise abundant pottery, numerous weaving implements, a substantial volume of obsidian artifacts and their production byproducts, a considerable quantity of groundstone tools, and fewer epiphytes, primarily animal faunal remains. The pottery is still largely datable to the 5th and 4th millennia BCE, with parallels found at sites like Theiaou, Mykonos, and Kefala, Kea. Particularly noteworthy are a couple of matte-painted sherds from the lower levels of Trench 5, constituting the earliest datable finds excavated in Gurimadi and in post-Peristria region. Chipstone tools, almost exclusively made of Melian obsidian, continue to constitute a significant portion of the archaeological assemblage, with hundreds of pieces collected thus far. Notably, there is a large number of arrowheads, totaling now more than 300 pieces, including those recovered from the surface of the slab. In summary, the 2023 excavations have provided valuable new insights into this complex site. We have significantly expanded our understanding of the stratigraphy of the architectural remains, identifying overlapping construction phases dating to the 5th and 4th millennium BCE. With solid indicators of mid and possibly early 5th millennium occupation, we remarked now stands as the oldest known open-air site in southern Libya, crucial for understanding prehistoric chronology in Libya as a whole. The project directors and the Norwegian Institute extend our thanks to all individuals and institutions who have contributed to the success of this project. Special appreciation once again goes to our team specialists and volunteers from Norway and around the globe. We would also like to express our warmest gratitude to the effort of Antiquities of Libya and to its Deputy Director and tonight's keynote speaker, Dr. Dimitris Christodoulou, for the unwavering support over the years. And as always, we're grateful to the staff of the Kairos Museum, Mrs. Athanasiou and Mrs. Tabello, for their steadfast assistance. Let us now turn to our second archaeological project, the small cycladic island project known as SKIP. SKIP is a diachronic survey of numerous small, currently uninhabited islands in the Cyclades. The project is a collaboration between the effort of Antiquities of the Cyclades, the Norwegian Institute at Athens, and Carleton College. It's directed by Dimitris Athanasioulis, director of the Cycladic Network, with Alex Nodel and Zarko Tanos serving as co-directors. While most of these islands have never sustained long-term populations, they witnessed a variety of different uses varying from pastorage to agricultural stopovers, refuges, and strongholds. Since 2019, SKIP has carried out systematic archaeological surveys in 68 small islands. The 2023 field season focused on 22 islands in the vicinity of Andros, Tinos, Mykonos, and Amorgos. Because of time constraints today, I will only briefly refer to some examples representative of this year's fieldwork. A more detailed presentation of SKIP's results will soon be presented by the directors of the project, celebrating the end of this fascinating and highly demanding in terms of logistics project. So please stay tuned. The islands were surveyed on Andros clustered in the Bay of Gavrilos, with only Megalo yielding significant finds from antiquity, searched mostly from Hellenistic and Roman and Byzantine periods and two small buildings. 3 islands around Tinos were surveyed, namely Disvato, Kalogien, and Planitis, with very little evidence of ancient use except for the relatively modern lighthouses in Disvato and Planitis. Also, quarries were located in both islands for the extraction of slate and marble. The Mykonos area yielded richer and more diverse finds. Dragonisi was one of the larger islands surveyed in 2023. Final Neolithic and Early Bronze Age surveys confirmed earlier reports by Alamando Samson of prehistoric activity in the western part of the island. We also found Early Bronze Age surveys on the eastern side. Historic pottery is more common, with the classical and Roman periods well attested. Hellenistic black rose surveys were also present in small quantities. Roman period amphorae are also common, though only a few surveys are ascribed to medieval times. Today, the island is best known for its church of Panagia Dragonischiotissa. A church complex was also present on the island of Baos, which is woven into the more recent myths and history of Mykonos. Baos is said to have received its name from Georgios Baos, who used it as a base to harass Ottoman-era merchants. The islands around Tilos and Linia were also points of interest for the project, not least due to the historical and archaeological interest of these places. We single out here Kato and Mathiaris evincing some of the highest pottery densities documented throughout the SKIP project. The archaeological significance of the island is known already from the excavations in the 1930s and 1940s conducted by the French, which revealed 2 substantial building complexes. An early Christian church in the center of the island and a complex of structures on the southeast coast. These buildings appear to have been built in the classical and Hellenistic periods before being substantially renovated in late antiquity to serve as basilica. Perhaps the most interesting of the islands of Mykonos is Stapodia. Stapodia is associated with the Melandian rocks described by Apollonius Rhodius and Apollodoros, who mentioned a myth in which Apollo stood on the Melandian rocks and provided guidance to seafarers by flashing lightning. Ancient remains were discovered on the summit of the island, where pottery finds displayed a large number of black-glazed shells, including schiphoi, cantharoid, and amphoras, as well as Murex shells. The islands of Amorgos had the most abundant and chronologically diverse finds in the 2023 field season. Nikuria, the largest one, yielded a sizable early growth site along its northeast ridge, with large stone brick walls surrounding an upper plateau and smaller walls traced on the surface throughout the site. The ceramic assemblies and small finds, including stone leads, bronze blades, lithic, slag, and possible clear fragments, indicating that the site was used for habitation and possibly supported specialized industry of metalworking. A small but well-built Byzantine fort is positioned on a peak in the central part of the island. The place offers a clear view of northern Athens and the nearby sea lands. Within the walls are remains of further structures, including a cistern and traces of structural terraces, while also indications for extramural buildings. A dense cattle of pottery consisting mainly of late Roman amphoras and finewares were found inside and on the southern slope. The Anikeria Islands, just south of Keros, also had significant finds in building remains from prehistoric and late Roman periods. The earliest activity on both seems to be final Neolithic, while most of the prehistoric material is early Bronze Age. Geometric, archaic, and classical shells are also present, though most finds were from the late Roman to the Byzantine periods. Both islands have also preserved remains of church complexes. The most significant medieval finds come from Viocastro, where a settlement was built on a small plateau on its northeastern tip. Pottery finds and the construction technique indicate a settlement of the early medieval period, including its church. Finally, the most remote island served in 2023 is Anidros, located between Amargos and Santorini. In contrast to the island's perceived isolation, Anidros presents one of the richest architectural and ceramic assemblages documented by Skip thus far. The island's topography is divided into a lower and upper plateau, separated by a steep slope. Atop the slope, we recorded a large complex of structures and terraces alongside high densities of final Neolithic and early Cycladic pottery and stone tools. Further to the east, we found evidence of geometric and Hellenistic material. Late Roman and early medieval activity clusters both at the lower plateau and the eastern end of the island, where we recorded a small church and a large agricultural complex. In sum, 2023 field season of Skip offered a wealth of new information about the Eastern Cyclades, and there is much work to do as we look ahead to the Southern Cyclades this summer. You can read more about the project in this publication, and we also wish to thank all the members and participants. Last but definitely not least is our project in the cave complex of Apidima in southern Peloponnese. The Apidima project is a research program of archaeological and geological investigations in the homonymous cave complex, co-directed by Professor Katerina Tavati and Associate Professor Vangelis Touloukis, and is funded by the ERC project First Steps. The site is a complex of 5 karstic caverns, named caves A to E, located between the Bay of Itilo and the Bay of Tylos on the steep coast west of Areopolis. Previous research at the site in the 1970s and 1980s yielded numerous lithic artifacts and fossils, including human remains. The most important of these remains are 2 human crania removed from a breccia deposit at the ceiling of Cave A. While one cranium belongs to a Neanderthal, a recent reanalysis of the fossils by Harvati and colleagues gave unexpected results for the second cranium, attributing it to an early Homo sapiens and not to Neanderthal as it was thought earlier. A direct radiometric date of 210,000 years before present for this cranium indicates that it represents the oldest anatomically modern human specimen in Eurasia, essentially about 150,000 years older than the oldest Homo sapiens known in Europe. These recent results suggest that early modern humans and Neanderthals might have been coming in contact much earlier than previously thought. All the research in Cave C also yielded important findings. A female Homo sapiens skeleton was found reportedly deposited in a ritual burial and associated with burial offerings and symbolic artifacts such as celebrates. Our team's dating results of the Cave C human fossils provided a minimum age of circa 11,000 years before present, and if this is confirmed, it would be the oldest dated burial in Greece. Thus, the project has 2 main objectives: to assess and readdress the research questions emerged from earlier work at the site by employing a methodology based on cutting-edge excavation and analysis techniques, and to extend the research of the first phase with the aim of elucidating new research questions arising from recent laboratory studies and the dating of existing paleoanthropological material. 2023 fieldwork set forth and materialized the following goals: completion of the excavation grid and topographic documentation of the 5 caves, geological, geomorphological, and geoarchaeological study of the site sequence with an emphasis on anthropogenic and fossiliferous deposits and the overall geological evolution of the karst complex, removal of the stones and debris that cover the surfaces of the caves and the old trenches, opening of new excavation trenches, sampling of sediments and speleothems from the floors, walls, and ceilings of caves A, B, C, and E. Specifically, besides the completion of the topographic grid using total station equipment, the topographic documentation included the application of portable 3D scanner for the construction of a georeference 3D model for its cave. Moreover, a drone was used to record 6 series of high-resolution aerial photographs to collect geospatial data and create digital elevation models. In Cave A, a block of the breccia deposit was cut from the ceiling of the cave at the location where the 2 crania were found in the past. The block was documented in detail with the total station before and after its removal from the cave ceiling, allowing any relevant finds to be piece-plotted in the archaeological grid as they were excavated on site. Moreover, the removal of the debris from the surface of the cave allowed us to locate the excavation trends from the earlier investigations. During the cleaning and the study of the stratigraphy, lithics of possible Middle Paleolithic affinities were located. In Cave B, a new excavation unit was opened, and the stratigraphy of the cave sequence was logged and studied at a natural profile next to the excavation unit. This is an undisturbed deposit of red-silted gravels in a matrix of clayey silted sands, which have so far yielded a few fragmented faunal remains. Excavation in Cave C involved 10 quads in 6 units at the central and northern part of the cave. It was soon made clear that all the layers below the uttermost 5-10 centimeters, which was assigned as layer 1, represent intact, geologically sealed Pleistocene sediments, yielding a wealth of finds such as lithic artifacts, anthropogenically fragmented and buried faunal remains, cell fragments, and sarcophagus. The presence of distinct concentrations, such as a lithic scatter with graphites in layer 3, evinces episodes of on-the-spot napping of lithic stools, confirming the presence of undisturbed anthropogenic deposits. Our protocol for a detailed documentation of the excavation included the piece plotting of all finds, the recording of strike and dip of finds and selected gravels, the application of photogrammetry, as well as the flotation of the excavated sediments for the recovery of tiny and fragile specimens such as lithic chips, microfauna, charcoal fragments, and archaeobotanical remains. The excavated lithic assemblage includes lithics from all stages of reduction sequence, cores, epitaphs, blades and bladelets, technical pieces, and debris. The type of technological characteristic ascribed the assemblage to the early Upper Paleolithic, thus matching in terms of relative dating the material uncovered during earlier excavations in the cave. Similarly, the faunal remains include perforated cells like the ones reported from the human burial in Cave C. Alongside excavations at caves B and C, extensive geological sampling was conducted in all caves. Samples were collected for micromorphological and geochemical analysis, grain size X-ray diffraction analysis, for the study of phytoliths, and for the extraction of ancient DNA from sediments. Samples were also collected for dating purposes, charcoal and cell fragments for the carbon dating, burnt lithics and sediments for different luminescent dating techniques, animal teeth for dating with electron spin resonance, and cave speleothems for uranium series dating. In sum, the 2023 APIDMA campaign included extensive topographic and geological documentation of the site, the opening of new excavation units in 2 of the 5 caves, and extensive sampling for archaeological, geological, botanical, and dating analysis. 2023 fieldwork not only brought to light significant finds, but also set a solid basis for assessing old questions, such as the antiquity of human activities at the site, readdressing research questions based on our new findings, such as the presence of the earliest Homo sapiens in Europe, and shedding new light on this very important site. Thank you. we will now continue our annual open meeting with a keynote lecture. We are honored tonight to have with us Dr. Dimitrios Christodoulou, the Deputy Director of the Effort of Antiquities of India, who will deliver a keynote lecture on Castello Rosso, an emblematic monument of Charistos in Judea. The long-standing presence of the Norwegian Institute in Charistia for over 12 years, and the warm relationship and collaboration we have developed with the local archaeological service and its people could not be more fitting to celebrate our 35 years of archaeological research in Greece. Dr. Christodoulou boasts an impressive educational background, extensive research experience, and numerous publications. He holds bachelor's degrees in geology, archaeology, history, psychology, am I forgetting anything? As well as an MA in history and a PhD in classical archaeology from the University of Thessaloniki. Since 1991, he has been employed in the Greek Ministry of Culture as a tenured archaeologist, serving successively with the efforts of antiquities at Sparta, ancient Olympia, Attica, and Phalkis. His research interests encompass the archaeology and history of the late Roman Empire, medieval and modern history, and he has also been an adjunct lecturer at the Greek Air Force Academy since 2005. Dr. Christodoulou has conducted extensive archaeological fieldwork, published 2 monographs and numerous academic articles, and participated in numerous international and Greek scientific conferences. Additionally, he has contributed to the archaeological research programs, translated archaeology and history books, and written non-refereed articles for the press. So without further delay, let us extend a warm welcome to Dr. Christodoulou for tonight's keynote lecture.
For about 1 hour. As you see from the slide, we have an iconic monument of Charistia, the Castello Rosso, the Red Castle, Kokino Castle in Greece, Kizilkhisar in Ottoman Turkish, whose survey, analysis and restoration proposal are going to be the subject of this talk. Euboea is the second largest island of the Greek archipelago after Crete, and certainly occupies a privileged geographical position, combining mountain and sea. It is separated from the mainland of Greece by the Euboean Sea, which consists of 2 large gulfs. It is a long and narrow body of water, and its general direction is from northwest to southeast. The prefecture of Euboea is one of the 74 regional units of the country, and it is administratively under the region of central Greece. Charistos, which is the main municipality of this area, is a seaside town in South Euboea, built on the edge of the bay of the same name at an altitude of just 20 meters, and has a port at a distance of 61 nautical miles from Piraeus, the main port of Greece. Its geographical position was a decisive factor for its development, as it was a crossroads from the Greek mainland to the insular Aegean, and beyond that, the east. Through the port, there is a regular sea connection with Rafina of Attica, on the opposite coast of the South Libyan Bay, and by road is connected to Athens via Phalkis, from which it is about 180 kilometers away. Since 2011, Charistos belongs to the municipal community of Charistos, of the same municipal unity, and is the seat of the municipality of Charistos. Therefore, there are 4 levels of municipal administration who share the same name. It is one of the 8 new municipalities of the regional unit of Euboea. Its area is 67.43 square kilometers and has a population of about 12,000 inhabitants according to the 2011 census. Let's proceed with a short historical framework. People from central Greece settled in South Euboea from very early on. The oldest remains of human life found so far in Charistos are obsidian stones, weapons and tools of the Stone Age, and some traces of Neolithic dwellings opposite the village of Agia Pelagia. The early prosperity of the area is confirmed by the legend according to which the king of Caristos during the Trojan War was Nauplius, one of the most resourceful Greek leaders who took part in it. The ruins of a large rectangular building outside another village, the village of Parnassos, have been dated to the Archaic age. As the archaeological investigation in the area testified, the Paximada Peninsula of Caristos was particularly densely populated during antiquity. During the historical period, the city generally followed the fortunes of the prevailing state of mainland southern Greece. At first Athens, to which Caristos was started, then Sparta, then Athens again, and finally Macedon. It flourished during the late classical period and during the Hellenistic period. According to the archaeological data, during the Roman imperial period, southern Euboea prospered as its quarries operated intensively. From these comes the famous Caristian marble, known as Caristia stone or Cipollino marble, which was traded throughout the Mediterranean for use in secular and religious buildings, such as Hadrian's library in Athens, or even in Rome, the temple of Divus Antoninus Pius and his wife Diva Faustina. Inside the modern town of Caristos are preserved the ruins of a Roman mausoleum. You can see it there, and which is associated with a Roman official responsible for the supervision of the quarries. I mentioned this mausoleum now because most probably stones were used to build some part of the castle, and we'll see them later on. Like the entire Roman Empire, Caristos was gradually Christianized after the reign of Constantine the Great. The fact that it was the see of the bishopric under the metropolis of Corinth and from 1733 of Athens proves its importance as an urban center of Euboea. In the 11th and 12th centuries, the economy of Caristos was recovering from the so-called Dark Ages. Muhammad Ali Idrisi, a Muslim geographer of the 12th century, includes Caristos among the rich, populous cities of the Byzantine Empire. The main occupations of its inhabitants were purple oyster fishing, silk production, wax production. Agriculture did not develop much in Euboea because of the mountains, except in limited lowland areas, such as the plain of Caristos, where grain production was developed. After the diversion of the Fourth Crusade, which led to the fall of Constantinople in 1204, Euboea, along with 3/8 of the ex-imperial territories, were initially ceded to the Venetians. However, the island itself was initially conquered by a Flemish adventurer crusader, Jacques d'Avesnes. D'Avesnes himself, however, was killed next year in Corinth during the siege of the Acrocorinth, and then the Lombard king of Thessalonica, which was the nominal suzerain, ceded Euboea to 3 Lombard nobles from Verona. The island was organized according to the feudal system of 3 triarchs, tertiary, that is, third parts, fiefdoms. In 1205, the rule of the South Tertiary was ceded to Ghiberto da Verona and his heirs. It was these Lombard knights who built the Red Fortress, the Red Castle, Castello Rosso, on a rocky hill on top of which the citadel of the castle is located. This Latin Crusader fortress is called red because of the reddish hue of the building material, plaster covering its stonework, seen from afar. At the top of the hill, local tradition places the ancient Acropolis of Caristos and later a mid-Byzantine fortress, but none of the buildings are visible today appear to be earlier than the late Byzantine period. From the 13th century and until the 19th century, the history of Caristos is inseparably connected to Castello Rosso, which is the residential and administrative center of the area. In 1317, the castle passed from the Lombards to the Catalans, in 1365 to the Venetians, and in 1470 to the Ottoman Turks. The conqueror of Caristos, as well as Euboea itself, was Mehmed the Conqueror, the one who took Constantinople from the last Byzantine emperor. During this period, the Ottoman-Turkish period, Euboea was quickly fortified, regionally defended with Turkish castles and towers. Therefore, many Turks moved to Euboea because of the sense of security it provided, and the Turkish population in Euboea was denser than in other Greek provinces, which combined with its geographical location and developed administration, played a decisive role in the development and maintenance of Turkish power in the Aegean. On the eve of the Greek Revolution, South Euboea was under the control of Omer Bey, also called Karistinli, whose residence was the Castello Rosso, now called by the Turks Kizilhisar, Red Castle. The wider area of Karistia was of great strategic importance for the Ottomans, and it was a central communications hub between Constantinople, Crete, the Peloponnese, and Smyrna. For this reason, the Ottomans fought to keep Kizilhisar at all costs. It was finally handed over to the Greeks in 1833 after the Treaty of London. After its liberation, the Turkish population were all forced to leave and settled in the Asia Minor coast near Aydin. At first, it was the village of Mili that was designated as the capital of the newly established municipality of Caristos. The Greeks who lived scattered in the region asked the new government, the new Free Greek government, to gather everybody in a coastal city. Thus, it was decided to establish a new coastal town in the Nook of the Bay. In 1833, the French Geographical Service, led by Colonel Rango, drew up the original plan of the city, which was checked by Major Braquier in 1834 and revised by the Bavarian geometer, surveyor, Mirbach in 1842. The layout of Caristos follows ancient prototypes with wide streets and square built on the orders of King Otto of Greece, based on Mirbach's design. To honor Otto, the town received its first name as Othonopolis, which it kept until the eviction of Otto in 1863. After that, it was renamed Caristos. The first houses of the new town were built after 1846, and since 1848, it has become the seat of the municipality. The habitation of the surrounding villages and at the foot of the castle hill continues even after the establishment of this coastal town, after this simikismos, as they might say in Katharepsa. The German archaeologist Ludwig Ross, in his description of King Otto's trips to Caristos to inaugurate the new city of Othonopolis in September 1841, mentions that after the removal of the Ottomans from Caristos and Castello Rosso, both the castle itself and the Turkish city around it were deserted and rapidly becoming dilapidated. They remained since then completely uninhabited and exposed to the weather and geological phenomena. Therefore, it was in 1967 that the Greek Archaeological Service, under the local archaeologist Pavlos Lazaridis, tried to make a survey, the first survey of the walls of the castle, and realized that they had suffered serious damage and presented a very great risk of collapse, which led to the local effort of thieves, if I'm not mistaken, there was no effort in Athens then, to take immediate action and approve a program of immediate measures for the maintenance and consolidation of the castle. The works began during 1967, but were concluded within 1 year. The plan included the following: the excavation of the main gate barbican. Don't be confused by the photos. You will understand with the later plans what these all mean. The excavation revealed after the removal of the collapsed part the plan of the Barbican, the main gate fortification, and then it was decided to renovate it as possible. And it was found that there was a vaulted space with 2 doors in the north and south sides, which were renovated. And then they found out that it had another 2 doors, but that we'll see sometime later. They restored the first gate, its original form, and the part of the wall in front of it. Then they renovated the wall between the Barbican and a polygonal tower to the east of it, and this part of the wall was consolidated, largely completed. It's the most safe part of the wall nowadays. Then the castle was left alone for about 30 years, till there was work undertaken there in the year 2007 and 2008. After a study, the Director of Buildings and Maintenance of the Ministry of Culture carried out operations of the rescue nature as well as the lighting up of the monument. More specifically, a local road network was constructed and paved with tar, asphalt, for the access of visitors and their cars from the southern part, and also a suitable parking area for up to 10 cars or tourist buses had been created. This is the road that was constructed in 2007. It branches out from a local road and leads up to the castle. The castle itself is here, but we'll see that we are interested in the castle, but there is a huge overall area, a walled Turkish city, because Parnassos was practically the biggest Turkish city of Greece. It housed up to 1,600 families of Ottoman Turks on the eve of the Greek Revolution, but these were Muslim converts, that is, they didn't speak Turkish, they spoke Greek. They were Islamicized Greeks, but they presented the most fierce resistance during the Greek Revolution, because they obviously knew that if they lost, and they did lose at the end, they would have to migrate. Finally, they, at least us, we made an ascent paths for the visitors from the outer wall of the castle to the Acropolis, the citadel, and the chapel of the Prophet Elias, which is on top of it. This was planned and constructed in a very ingenious way, because it had to traverse a total altitude difference of at least 80 meters. At regular intervals along the path, low stone structures with no visible mortars were built from local stone. They were 30 to 50 centimeter height for the visitors to stop and rest. Small illuminating deflectors are built into those stone structures, those balconies, to create a safety lighting zone for going up and down during any night movements of visitor and staff. The entire ascent-descent route is an alternation of stairs and flat paths with a gentle sloping for the easier drainage of water and the reduction of altitude differences. Local stone, wood, and cement mortar have been used as materials. In addition to the security lighting, a system of light projectors was proposed and installed to highlight areas of the castle, both to the inside and outside. And finally, a lighting protection mast was embedded north of the Church of the Prophet Elias in the castle citadel. This is to help against lightnings, and this is the unfortunate handling of the cables that provide electricity to the light projectors. They are exposed both to the weather and to the vandalism of not so friendly visitors. And moreover, because of danger of the collapse of parts of its masonry. A metal frame was built and placed in the form of struts west of the main castle entrance. And to this day, although no new damages have been reported, the frame remains in place until this part of the monuments are to be restored. Also, from 2008 until 2022, the Ephorate of Antiquities of Euboea carried out annual clearing and maintenance of part of the castle and its infrastructure. In 2023, a master plan was drawn up to manage a full restoration and enhancement of the entire medieval castle. Due to the size of the monument, which covers 5,000 square meters, its complexity, the difficulty of assessing the materials and personnel, as well as the necessary implementation of extensive excavations, the project is to be divided into three successive phases. The first phase has been determined mainly on the basis of the risk of collapse of certain parts of the castle, so that they should be restored first. More specifically, the first phase includes the mapping, documentation and restoration of the western part of the castle walls, the southeastern part of the castle walls, which are marked in yellow in the slide, and the rocky slopes on its north, east and south sides, which are marked in green color. It also includes excavations inside the monument. The talk will concentrate almost totally on this first phase, but we need to describe at least the second and third phase. The second phase, therefore, includes the remaining parts of the walls and the large building on the south side of the castle, marked as blue. This is the residence of the lords of the castle, be them Lombard knights, Catalan adventurers, Venetian representatives, or Turkish agas or beys, or even pashas, because the last bey was promoted to pasha. And this is to be restored, as well as the remaining rocky slopes to the northwest and south sides of the castle, which are not highlighted. The third and last phase concerned the restoration and highlighting of the entire citadel of the castle, and it's marked in red. As I said, we'll now develop the first phase of the above projects, the studies of which are ongoing. In order to implement all the necessary works and the studies of this first phase, a multidisciplinary team was drawn up with architects, archaeologists, civil engineers, conservators, and mechanical engineers. You see them here in a long list, which is not final, as people are being still recruited to fill up the teams. Castello Rosso is built 3 kilometers north of the modern town of Parnassos, on top of a hill. Although it has direct view to the sea, it was built in this position due to the natural defense provided by the rocky slopes north and east of the castle, but also so as to control the fertile hinterland. From its position, the eastern Attic coast, the northern Cyclades, and the Caphireus Strait are fully controlled. Now, you need to memorialize the next 3 slides, as they are to be our guide for the main part of the presentation, which starts now. During the long history of the castle, many interventions were made in it with the aim of strengthening its defensive capacity. The medieval castle consists of 2 parts: the main castle, marked in blue, and the walled acropolis, marked in orange. This is the castle, and this is the citadel. We will be concerning ourselves on the eastern wall and the western wall. This is phase 1. The yellow wall is a lower wall, the lower wall that protects the Turkish city. You understand that underneath the plots of land there are substantial ruins of the Turkish city, which lasted from, let's say, 1500 to 1833. That is more than 3 centuries, which needs to be excavated, but due to the huge extent of this abandoned city, it's something to be left to the next generation of archaeologists. As I said, this enclosed the houses of the Ottoman population, and it was abandoned, which these were expelled. Today, after successive intervention and fortification addition to the monument, the main parts of the castle are presented as follows. I repeat, with dark blue color, the wall of the lower part of the castle, with orange color, the wall of the upper part of the castle, the citadel. In green, the luxurious rectangular building of the castle, which was probably, as said earlier, the Lord's residence. And in grey, the parapet of the central gate with a door on its eastern side. This was the Barbican that was renovated back in 1967-1968, in the first effort to do something about the castle. In a lighter blue color, there is a part of the castle that was part of the original formation of it, but it was very early abandoned, probably just after the Turkish occupation, so that this is non-existent today. The tower there was transferred up to the corner of the citadel, and this area was abandoned, and the wall moved in this angle. This was not the result of some attack or the vulnerability to enemy action, but due to the fact that the bedrock is collapsing, and along with it, the towers and the walls are being drawn back and down. And the castle on all its sides was fortified with towers, while access to it was made from its north and south sides by well-fortified gates. An orthophotographic mosaic of the monument shows the position of the sixth tower of the castle, as well as its main gate south, and a secondary gate preserved today on its north side. The gates are in red. This is the main gate through the Barbican, and this is a secondary gate, which for someone to approach it, he needs to travel in a small road next to the wall, and then turn right and enter the courtyard. These are the modern walk that was created in 2007 and 2008, so that to assist the visitors to go inside the castle without undergoing a dangerous climb. The castle towers show different shape and defensive function. Almost all of the walls, including the towers, had a parapet with merlons and crenels. Merlons are the standing protective stonework behind which the defenders are protected, while crenels are the open space in between, in which they briefly appear to shoot at the attackers. In medieval times, this could be closed off with wooden beams, which could act as arrow slits or crossbow ports. But during the Turkish occupation, these wooden works would be very dangerous because of the artillery of the assailants. Therefore, they were left open. Behind these ramparts with the merlons and the crenels ran a walk it's called either chemin de ronde or allure, more simply a wall walk, which helps defenders to travel along the length of the parapet. For it is from an architectural point of view, it's interesting to see that on top of the merlons, many standing stones project. These were originally put there by the arch worker so that his helpers could build and make the merlon end in a triangular shape with this embedded stone acting as a guide, so that no merlon was higher than the next. And this was very strongly embedded, and although the stonework around it has collapsed, in many places they stand still as if on a tooth. You see them enclosed in the green, in the circles, in the yellow circles. The main entrance on the south side of the castle consists of the rampart and the pilloried entrance building, which one must cross to enter the castle. The parapet ends at the pillar building. It is a roofed area or passageway with two doors in its north and south masonry. The path is marked with a red arrow and the position of the doors with blue. Therefore, in order for an attacker to force his way inside the castle, one has to fight through 4 different gates while avoiding the castle's defenses and defenders. The castle towers show different shape, size, and defensive function. We must not forget that during the many years of use of the castle, defense technique evolved significantly, especially after the discovery and use of gun power and siege artillery. In the northwest corner of the castle, we find a semicircular tower, Tower 3, which seems to have been built to replace a previous tower to the west of it. You can see the trace of the original medieval tower and the new tower built by the Turks, which does not have an empty space inside. It's built through a double masonry wall so that it can withstand artillery fire, and on top of it we have a cistern. Obviously the previous tower was much more vulnerable, that's why they abandoned it and moved it to the southeast. East of the entrance of the castle, there is a 5-sided tower, Tower number 1. It has been built with merlons and in dovetails, which is an exception. All the other merlons are ended in triangular shape. The tower is formed on 3 levels, and the entrance to it is from the middle level, with a door from the central courtyard of the castle on its north side. Inside the tower, in its northwest corner, is a fireplace for keeping the guard, and it still survived. Further north, 2 small arched windows can be found on its south and west sides. The larger tower, Tower number 2 of the castle, is located in its southwest corner. The tower has a rectangular plan and has arrow slits and cannon pots, and externally it is decorated with horizontal layers of ancient marbles used as spolia. I suspect that we'll find there the superstructure of the Roman mausoleum of Parnassos if we try to complete it. Today, 3 floors can be seen in the tower, where there's probably a 4th on the lower level, but it needs to be excavated. Towers number 4 and number 5 can be built on the citadel of the castle. These are towers of a rectangular plan. Today, these towers are preserved at the level of their foundation. Tower number 4 is on the northwest side of the citadel, while number 5 is on its southeast side. Another tower, as described earlier, in a dilapidated state, is located in the eastern corner of the castle, but outside this wall, it's the tower that was abandoned because the bedrock underneath it was falling apart. Between tower number 2 and the central gate of the castle, a large rectangular building, the residential building of the Lord. It has a length of 40 meters and a width of 10 meters, and had the entrance door on its northern side that easily looked and could be entered through the castle courtyard. And we can see, because of the beam hole on the upper part of its northern masonry, that there exists a large balcony which would be used to look at the central courtyard of the castle, and this is kind of fully documented and perhaps sometime constructed. The building also included underground spaces which will have to be excavated in the future. And finally, at the top of the citadel of the castle, on an underground reservoir, a small one-room church dedicated to the prophet Elias has been built. To the east of the church are the remains of a small cistern. You see, they chose to build the church. The church is here. Underneath its floor, there is a large well leading to a cistern which is underneath the church. Practically, the church is built on the plan of the cistern, but obviously there was a previous construction there. The church is a bit higher than what was expected, and there is another cistern here with a vault, a tubular vault, which needs also to be excavated and then its roof reinforced before it collapses. Now, what is all the master plan about? The team assembled followed a certain survey methodology that had to do both with the architectural, statical, and geotectonic survey of the castle. We used a combination of surveying methods and technologies from 3D laser scanners, unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, plus GPS and GNSS receivers. GPS stands, as most of you know, for Global Positioning System, and GNSS for Global Navigation Satellite System. And a few words for the 3D laser scanning that is nowadays the most appropriate and precise method of surveying monuments. This laser scanning is the process of capturing three-dimensional spatial data in the form of a point cloud. Laser scanning is widely used because of its capability to properly measure and collect data from objects, surfaces, structures, and landscapes. A point cloud comprises of millions of three-dimensional coordinates on the X, Y, Z axis, and this method of surveying also eliminated data collection errors, as well as the need to revisit the site in case of measuring mistakes. This is a technology that goes back to the 60s, but these used to be huge machines, very unwieldy to use. Throughout the 80s, they became smaller, and nowadays the 3D laser technology has been evolving ever since, and we can use these laser cameras only with a single hand. I suppose within the next 10 to 20 years there will be just a tiny little computer bit. For the architectural survey of Castello Rosso, we used a Faro Focus S350 Plus 3D laser scanner. This encompasses state-of-the-art technology and has the ability to capture data within 350 meters from its positioning. It is a phase-based laser scanner. It works on the principle of determining an object's distance by the difference of phase shift between the incoming and outgoing signals. In other words, computing a shift or displacement of the laser beam. These scanners use a constant laser beam and measure phase shift to calculate distances. Laser scanning is currently the best way, as I said, and it is the appropriate mechanism to use when there is a lot of structural and other damages, like in the medieval castle of Parnassos. For the fieldwork survey, we used both spherical and flat target as checkboards to align different scans on our models. You see, we have these spheres. Imagine that we have hundreds of photographs that we need to fix on a grid. And we need to have these spherical signs at one corner of the photo so that they can be put on top of each other and therefore make a map, a photographic map, without mistakes, since each and every scanned photo is continuous and unmistakably with the others. But when there is not such a possibility to use these spherical objects, we use flat checkboards, which are for the same purpose, yet not so accurate as the spherical stones. We took 76 scans in total at the field to cover the parts of the monument under study in phase A, and we did that both from the interior and the exterior. Every scan was capturing data in the field every 6.15 millimeters with their respective coordinates, as I said, at a distance of up to 350 meters. After the field work, each scan was processed in Pharoscene, the appropriate software for that particular 3D laser scanner. The first step was to erase any noise around the object of interest, such as birds and insects flying around the scanner. Then the independent scans were combined in one point cloud using the spherical targets as point of reference. Moreover, the final point cloud model was textured from the panorama photographs that the scanner had captured in the field. The final point cloud consists of 3.8 billion points. Last but not least, the checkboards, whose location has been measured using the GPS and GNSS systems, were used to georeference the model in the Greek grid EGS-A87. Now, scanning with 3D laser scanner was just one of the tools that were used. We then proceeded to use unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, which were used for the architectural survey to cover higher areas of the monument or areas that were not accessible with any other means, like the north facade of the castle, the bedrock, and so on. In our case, the unmanned aerial vehicles was used for aerial photogrammetry purposes. Photogrammetry is the science and technology of obtaining reliable information about physical objects and their environment through the process of recording, measuring, and interpreting photographs, images, and patterns of electromagnetic radiant imagery and other such phenomena. It's something that is used by many disciplines, among others as. For the aerial survey of Castello Rosso, we used a DJI Matrice 180 KU unmanned aerial vehicle. It was equipped with full-frame camera, P1 Zen News, with a 45 megapixel 35mm lens. To cover the two parts of the fortification walls of phase A, both vertical and oblique photographs were taken to achieve the most accurate result. After the fieldwork, that is, after the drone flew and took the pictures, the aerial photographs were processed so as to create a 3D model of the castle. The first step was the alignment of approximately 2,000 aerial photographs. This alignment was verified with the checkboards used in the field and their GPS and GNSS measurements, that their X, Y, Z coordinates. In total, we took measurements from 18 square checkboards and that were nailed to the ground, and each checkboard was measured 10 times, and the average was used to achieve higher accuracy and precision in the end result. The digital terrain model, you see, this is a model. This is not a picture. This is not a photograph. that was produced covered an area of 0.07 square kilometers, and the ground resolution was 6 millimeters per pixel. This was used to create an orthophoto mosaic, as you can see on the slide, with ground resolution of 2.35 millimeters per pixel. By zooming further into the previous orthophoto mosaic, you can see that from an altitude of 120 meters, that the photographs have captured an enormous amount of detail that is visible in the orthophoto mosaic, the construction joint, the stone, the different levels of the perpendicular tower, and so on. Imagine how many hundreds of architects and topographers and workers we needed to do this thing, which was completed within 3 months, just 20 years earlier. To do such a survey of a medieval castle would be beyond our abilities during the previous generation, unless we had an army of engineers and field workers. Of course, this could be done for Olympia or Acropolis, but not for Castello Rosso. And another very useful model that can be derived from the previous model, is the digital elevation model. We don't need anymore to measure heights and hills and hillocks. They all crop up because of the photographs and the scanners. So this is a model that puts the higher places in different colors, and in a less reddish color is the castle, and then the surrounding area is green. This is just done to be legible to an audience like us. But then this translates to a full topographic map with the elevations. You see? This is immediately done and given by a computer without further need for topographic survey. This can not only be used to have a huge picture, it is used to acquire the complete set of necessary data for all the different disciplines involved in the project and form a complete framework to work with after the architectural work in the field. And now we go into the castle's structure by analyzing the existing material, both stones, mortars, and binders. We can propose restoration materials that are compatible with the originals and do not compromise the original structure both in appearance and in essence. Initially, material sampling was carried out in both areas under study, the eastern and western fortification, for both stones and mortars. In total, 5 different types of stones were collected and analyzed. Specifically for the mortar samples, it was crucial during sampling to collect specimens from the center of the fortification walls. That is, we needed bedding mortar, not pointing mortar, and the samples must not be exposed to external weather conditions in order to get accurate results of the technical properties. In total, 5 different mortar samples were collected from different areas of the fortification walls. These were analyzed. It is much too taxing to go on with the analyzing method, and I think it's not the proper place and time to elaborate further. What needs to be said is that the castle stones were, in their vast majority, either grey schists with maroon veins and veinlets, or cyan and pyrite marble, or yellow camel granite, and these, due to the many different analyses that were required and the methodology used, they needed very specialized laboratories to be contacted and associated with the team, such as the company Lithus and Irisis, or another society called the Geoerna, and the Innovation and Quality Research Department of the cement company Titan, as well as the Department of RF8 of the Antiquities of Judea. The identification of the mortar components, the particle size distribution, and the aggregates, and the observation under the microscope provided information on the ratio of binder to aggregate, the type, quality, and size of the aggregates, and their construction techniques, admixtures, fibers, and so on. Great emphasis was given on the full laboratory testing of sample, and these mortars contain aggregate with an average and maximum grain size of 6.3 millimeters to 0.9 millimeters in a ratio of 1 to 4 aggregates to weight. These will be useful when the restoration process will begin. And now, that's to tell me that we are approaching at the end of the hour, as I promised, and I don't want to bother you too much. Therefore, I'll go rather quickly with the slideshow. These are the two areas that belong to the restoration of phase A. This is the eastern part of the wall. This is the barbican of the entrance and the polygonal tower. And this is the western part of the wall with the rectangular tower with the spoiler from antiquity and the removed tower with the cistern on top. These are the first phase that will need to go through towards the final restoration of the castle. First of all, we created a very detailed plan view. Imagine that although here it is depicted as a 1 to 50 map, in fact it was done in the computer on a 1-to-1 scale, all of it. Then we did that on sections of the towers, and then a section of the walls itself. You see, this is the very interesting way that the Lombards and the Venetian and Turks built their walls. They put holes inside the masonry, and they put wooden beams there so that they put planks on top, climbed, and built another 50 centimeters of the castle. Then they repeated the process till they reached the 20 or 25 meters height of the full wall. These were not visible in the medieval and modern times because the castle wall was not showing its stones to the visitor, to the observer. It was plastered and under a coat of plaster, and these were initially protected from corrosion. But when plaster collapsed, these were exposed and have decayed, and now have become a very big liability for the whole structure of the castle walls. Now, this is the topographical model, and this is the 3D computer model. This is not a photograph, this is a creation of the computer that has taken into account the 3D laser scanning of the area. You see the accuracy of taking sections out of the wall, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. These are all there without having to go and measure each and everything. The computers do that for us. And this is the plan view of the western wall. The same process is being repeated. This is the 3D model of the barbican with the 5 entrances, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it needs to be pointed out to oblige us. And these are drawings of the various towers along with a 3D model of this polygonal tower. Now, we have chosen to renovate this part of the castle because this is fast collapsing. In fact, a medieval wall is built by using this simple method. You use a layer of stones to the outer face, a layer of stones to the inner face, and you put earth inside in between. When one part of the facade collapses, as happened here, then the internal contained earth is being rapidly washed away, so that only the inner facade is nowadays existing, and sooner or later it will collapse itself. So it is here that we need to do our immediate work. And you see the interiors of various towers, and very interesting how this is out of the vertical, therefore it is in danger of collapsing. And the fact that it's jagged means that the original plaster that would have covered it has been lost, and therefore it has become very vulnerable to the weather because it's still near the sea, and there is a cloud of salty air that assaults that castle throughout the centuries. And finally, we have the damage to the mortar between the walls and the stones. This is missing and needs for the castle to survive to be replaced. Moreover, it's not just corrosion, it's seismic activity. We have earthquakes, but fortunately, Umea is in the less dangerous area, it's in the blue area. The light green one is intermediate danger, the red one is very, very dangerous. But this still had to be taken into account when we did this master plan. So we did models of how the castle would go to and fro in case of an earthquake, what would be its seismic sort of resistance, and when would it break down and when it would collapse. So we need to take this into account when we produce mortars and replacement materials. We don't need to make them too strong, otherwise this will stay in place, but the older parts of the castle will collapse. Now, before we start thinking about proposals, we need to take into account the following conservation or restoration values. The castle needs to be assessed for its historical value, for its aesthetic value, is it beautiful or not, for its authenticity value, if it is a percentage of newer material that makes it now a faux antiquity, or it's still, as in our case, it's still basically intact. A memory value for the local community, is it a lieu de mémoire or not, and a landmark value, which is obviously the main value of the castle, since it is directly related to the wider environment of the city of Parnassos and is superimposed on top of it. Therefore, we need to start from the bottom up and see what we need to do with the bedrock, because the bedrock is, as I said, vulnerable and collapsing. Therefore, we have decided to propose to embed into the rock a grid of bolts, stainless austenitic or steel bolts of about a 3-meter length that will go inside the rock on a grid of 3 meters and help to keep it in place so that it does not fall down and make the castle wall of the citadel go down with it. The same will need to be used on the other facade, the northern facade, but with different bolts because this is the different dangers in this area. We put them on a 10-degree inclination, and to be put in place they need to have this scaffolding, which is quite expensive, in fact, to be installed in place and this work to take over. And before all this started, we need to do an inner scaffolding to protect people working in the castle, lest this wall collapses on top of them as they work. This needs to be taken again into account. Now, after bolting the castle into its better place, we need to decide which parts of it need to be filled and which parts need to be restored as much as possible without compromising the authenticity of the castle. As I told earlier, this is number one area to be restored, lest it totally collapses and brings down with the two parts of the wall that are still intact to the right and left of it. The way to do this is, and now it's a full hour. The way to do this is to put rods, metal steel rods inside the castle walls, and then bring new material, new stones, and then fill up the caves, the cavities underneath the foot of the walls, which has need also another reinforcing steel rod, and then a filling of cement that will look like rock and stabilize them and prevent them from going down. That's the way to reinforce an existing wall. When this inside filling of earth has gone away, we'll put reinforcing concrete, grout it's called, that will replace the earth with a structure that is more resistant to time. And finally, we need to fill up all of the wooden beams, holes. Those that are visible will be closed up, and those that are not visible will be filled with grout or with artificial mortar, which is similar to the mortar used by the original builders of the castle. This is the tower with the spolia from the mausoleum. This has this problem. The spolia are in need of reparation because they have broken into pieces. Therefore, we need to introduce pins and metal rods inside the ancient stone to keep it from breaking into parts, so that this crack does not lead to the collapse of the wall on top of it, here or there, and in points that have been pinpointed as in very dangerous structural areas. And finally, we need to light up the castle. This is the way it's been lit up today. Not very much. You see, only a part of it is lit up during the night. And as I said, the cables are unfortunately exposed. Therefore, after we saw various attempts at lighting medieval castles, which we deemed them to be failures, or not only failures, but bordering to the ridiculous, we decided to abandon point lightings that even not highlighting like this. This is from Glory in Albania. This is from anterior fort, but still this cordon is being projected onto the air as a lighted line by these projectors, or you have projectors on top of poles that highlight extensive parts with black areas in between. We decided for a different model that will sort of light the whole area of the castle, and moreover its cable will be underneath the ground, both for structural, safety and aesthetic reasons. Finally, all this was built on top of a huge bibliography, both technical, historical, and archaeologist was amassed by the team. And my greatest thanks goes to Neoptolemus Michailidis that helped put this PowerPoint slide session into place. And of course, to all of you for your attention, even though we went up to 5 minutes beyond the 1 hour that I promised this presentation will last. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm at your service. You have a castle of your own to give you ideas how to preserve it. Is there a castle owner among you who needs our advice? I'll be delighted if I can be of help to anyone who has questions or needs information or whatever. Even if not now, you can find in Halkis at the museum, the new museum of Athens, which I called you to visit because it's a very effective combination of industrial archaeology plus classical antiquities. It is a classical collection of art inside a ex-factory of 1900, and it sort of just juxtaposes modern with classical. I think very successfully within the same building. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Christodoulou, for this extremely thorough analysis of the monument in Parnassos. We will visit it next time with completely different eyes, I must say. I have been many times, but this is going to be a different visit. So we can continue. Thank you very much for being with us. We will continue our evening on the upper floor with a little reception, and we would like to see you all there. Thanks again for being with us, and